in social system sciences from the Wharton School, Pennsylvania. Yeah, also was trained as a master in economics, and my original training is as an engineer in Chile. Yeah, I have been a member. I read this is easier. And consultant, member of and consultant to business companies, universities, research centers, international agencies, government agencies. And I am the author of the Participatory Innovation Practice, a practical approach to high complexity problems and social transformation. I think that's basically the what I want to say to start with. Yeah. And the rest is will be in the presentation. So I'll start with it right away. Sorry, but I have to move this thing that. Okay. I hope can you see well? Angela?
Yes, it's all right. It's all right. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, this is the title, The Participatory Workspace, an online complexity management and communications tool. I'll talk first about the participatory innovation praxis, yeah, which is the general theory and practice I do, and then about the workspace. This is an intervention model for wicked problems and social transformations. Scientific grounds, the challenge, making high complexity governance, an illustrative case in Chile, principles which apply Ashby's law, the process to ongoing participatory innovation processes. And then I will talk about the tool. Yeah, this tool I will show is a part of this broader thing that is the participatory innovation praxis, which is an intervention model. I will do this for the following reason. Yeah, I think you may be interested in the praxis. Yeah, and an application of the praxis takes time. Yeah, while the workspace, the participatory workspace, is also a standalone tool that applies the principles we will see. Yeah, and that can be applied much quickly. Yeah, than the other. That's why I have prepared this like this, yeah, to put the overall context and then the specific tool. The praxis. First, the scientific grounds for this praxis. Akov, I studied with him, my PhD, social systems thinking. Stafford, managerial cybernetics, I met him in Chile and followed him, and my work is based a lot on his work also. Hassan Özbekan, futures, building at Penn. I met and learned a lot from him. Edgar Schein, formation of cultures. I have included the essential subject in my way of culture following him into this praxis. Then Edgar Morin, a great French thinker, philosopher, is about to turn 100 years old, author of Complex Thinking. Yeah, this is almost unknown in the English-speaking world. His work has very recently been started to be translated. And finally, of course, Ross Ashby, yeah, Complexity Governance. These authors are integrated into my work, yeah, with some expansion of the work of each of them. We could talk about later. What is the challenge? Making high complexity governable. Governing simple, complex, high complexity. How do we manage our world in practice? That depends upon complexity. A simple problem, you see there, it's simple, it's complicated maybe, but simple. It's a intersection of streets, can be governed by means of a simple mechanisms, which we all know. A complex time problem, like this, when there is a shared and practical understanding available, discipline, can be governed by means of a network of known instruments, training, updating, medical center, technology, and so on. We all know this. This is part of our present civilization. Other complex time problems, managing business firms, solving legal concepts, building metro system, governing central banks. Exactly the same. They are tamed. They are tamed by these networks, knowledge network, international knowledge networks. Yeah. There exists practical understanding. But let's look now at the high complexity problem, like this. There is no shared and practical understanding for this problem. Many interconnected issues, many interrelated actors and conflicts, many interpretations of the problem, many interdependent actions possible, many relevant disciplines, several non-communicated cultures, need for cultural change, everyone says that, everything related to everything else, of course. Where to start from? This is a high complexity problem. Other high complexity problems with these characteristics, many actors, issues, disciplines, cultures. For instance, quality education for all in Chile, or fair access to water in the Valparaiso region in Chile, or cleaning urban air in Santiago, or making agriculture sustainable in the Valparaiso region. You may notice that all of these are concrete yeah, and placed, located. For instance, the last one, the high complexity transformation to sustainable agriculture in Valparaiso. Look at the number of actors, and we can add a lot of actors to them. And the issues, we may add 10 times this number of issues here. Disciplines and professions, agriculture and sciences, education, biological sciences, management, and so on. And cultures, business, research, political, public service, peasant, and so on and so forth. This slide can be multiplied many times. Well, this is reality. Yeah, this is reality. Reality is highly complex. And in any area, you may do a mapping like this. But what do we actually have available to face complexity? I mean, in practice, in actual practice. Yeah, there are basically 4 common sense approaches to high complexity. Simplification. No, this is not complex. I know how it is, how to do. This will be done. We know what happens after that. Second, analysis. Oh, let's do the analysis, the economic analysis and the environmental analysis and the political analysis and so on and so forth. And let's prepare 10 volumes of them. What happens afterwards? The problem in practice becomes more complex because nobody understands. And essentially, analysis does not lead to action, does not tell you what to do. Third, trial and error. Okay, the boy knows where the aim is, how to hold the dart, and so on. Yeah, and he improves every 10 seconds. Yeah. Well, these assumptions are not valid in real practice, where we do trial and error over and over in big, very big things. And the boy is playing, and we are not playing. Yeah, all permanently, these things are being done. And finally, committees. Yeah, we know We have all participated in many committees. Yeah? And obviously, yeah, the committees cannot have the requisite variety for the big complexity that is in any of these high complexity programs. Well, I'll show now an illustrative case for a high complexity problem or wicked. Road safety in Chile, a systemic transformation. Before and now in most developing countries, we had this situation. You see there the boy running. Now in Chile, we have this situation. This is a cultural and systemic transformation behind this. Yeah? The culture in the upper photograph says the driver of the car say, I am strong and I just go ahead. In the second one, there is a deep cultural change, which means I care for them because they are weaker, they are more vulnerable. This cultural change has taken place in Chile. Of course, I don't say every place this is fully met, certainly not. Yeah? But clearly, this exists now in Chile. How? The Chilean experience, 10 to 15,000 lives were saved in road traffic. This is the number of fatalities from 1985 onwards. You see a very clear trend. At that time, the policy was formulated, and you see clearly the outcome. Yeah. Over a 25-year period. So this is a long-term assessment of the situation. What did we do? Through participatory innovation, the participatory design of the National Road Safety Policy and its agency, that's called CONACET, in those years. 209 participants who provided the content, all of it. 129 innovations identified and 76 of them implemented up to 2006. No foreign expert was brought in, and on the contrary, many Chileans went out after this experience to other countries. Let's see the impacts. 10 to 15,000 human lives saved, 50,000 people saved from severe injuries, 300,000 people saved from injuries in total, in a country which is only 18 million in population. This impact can only be attributed to the policy. All transport-related indicators grew significantly over this period. International indicator, fatalities per 100,000 people fell 14 to 11. Average indicator in high-income countries is 10. In middle-income countries like Chile is 22. And at the global scale, if this could be done, would be equivalent to saving 3 million lives and 30 million people from being injured. And finally, the benefit-cost ratio. Total cost is estimated of this in some $30 million, which is, and total benefit, I estimated it for a paper in $10 billion by using criteria from WHO and World Bank. Okay, let's go now to what are the foundations for this output I have just shown. The principles of participatory innovation, Ashby's law in practice. The first one is called the complexity participation principle. We had this situation, yeah, could be governed through a simple mechanism. There's more behind this, and the central idea is this. We have here a governance system, and we have reality. And what we do is that we take variety from reality through participation, and through this we build a governance system. This is the central idea, which I show in more detail now, the complexity participation principle. Here we have a high complexity problem, many actors, issues, disciplines, cultures. Through representative participants who interact methodically, we build a series of variety building. We apply variety building instruments. Strong participation, co-convening by key actors, wealth of natural language, action mapping logic, co-creation of meaning, mobilization of tacit knowledge, 4 high variety tools, enabling leadership, the steps of the participatory innovation process. And through this, we build a high variety governance system. This, of course, does not mean a bureaucracy. Yeah, the one we built for the road safety story was composed exactly by 11 people. Yeah, and they managed to do all that. These variety building instruments are the focus of my research over the last 40 years. Yeah. Well, second, the principle of activation of the potential. I'll show first the process that makes high complexity problems governable. Let's take any social space that would be transformed, we want to transform. A country, region, territory, an ethnic group, a university, a company, a health system, whatever. In its environment, of course. We start by a non-governed problem or out of control. 3 characteristics here: sporadic innovation, operations-centered management, and culture of adaptation. We move to governance under construction, innovation activated, incipient innovation management, self-critical culture, and governed problem under control. Permanent innovation, innovation-centered management, and culture of innovation. How can this take place, this movement from left to right? This takes place in participatory innovation by activating a field of forces. We have the social space and its environment, and there are 5 forces. The potential of the space. Every social space has a huge potential unknown. For instance, in education, the kids, the children, yeah, beautiful, clean minds, yeah, and with huge capacity to learn, which the regular school manages to destroy or to reduce. Potential of each person, of course. We are basically, you can look at it from any your philosophical, religious, spiritual, psychological perspective, but essentially we have a huge potential, and personal development and all that is precisely this. Enabling leadership, the opposite to domineering leadership. The leadership that tries to help each one to build his or her own potential. Strong participation. I haven't explained this in detail quickly. This means that those 130 participants actually created this policy, not technicians and then asking people to validate. No, they directly came from them. This is strong participation. Weak participation is all over, which is the opposite. And finally, complex thinking. The points on complexity I showed before, Yeah, complex thinking, the term belongs to Moran, is, in my view, a step ahead of systems thinking. Yeah. It's the same, but with something else we could discuss later. And well, all these five forces are, of course, closely connected. This is the field of forces we activate. How? Well, by having some agent, methodological agent called the animator. The animator activates the field of forces in this praxis. What competences are required to be an animator? Eco-humanist values, of course, mastery of concepts and methods of participatory innovation, cultural and linguistic familiarity with the social space. Of course, I cannot be an animator in Swahili, and ethics of animation. The animator has to live. Okay, finally, the third principle, the agile consensus principle. This principle is applied by using the verbal tools of the praxis. The power of verbal tools. This is we talk in the social space's own language. Immediate intuitive understanding, wealth of meanings. We have four well-specified verbal tools. The action map for making the problem's high complexity understandable and governable via participation. The fan of innovations, defining innovation portfolios via participation. The potentiality profile for conceptual designing innovations via participation. And finally, the participatory workspace. And for online management of knowledge, communications, and information through a specialized web platform, which I will show. The depth of tacit knowledge. We make tacit knowledge appear, become explicit, interact with other tacit knowledge. Chain reaction of intuitions. Our workshops precisely produce this, a chain reaction which is extremely wealthy and interesting. Why intuition? Because intuition is systemic, right-hand brain. Reason is analytical, left-hand brain. We negotiate meanings and build consensus on language. We work with one-page synthesis. They are practical, very concrete, and we don't do 20-page or 50-page reports. Plenary work under participants' control. That's how our workshops work. Efficient workshop techniques. I won't take more time on that. And, well, immediate continuity. All this makes up what I call the agile consensus principle. Here you have the action map of Chile's national road safety system. Just one page. Yeah. A, B, C are called dimensions. The map has some, those inside the dimensions are called the lines of action. The map is a structure of lines of action, which is an area in which there are actors, activities, objectives, permanent activities. Though they are of two kinds, some of them are in uppercase letter, as you see, the other in lowercase. The uppercase ones are the established lines of action. At the time this map was done, 1993, only 9 lines of action, which you see there, certification of drivers, of instructions, control of driving schools, accident investigation and report, and so on. Only 9 out of 55 lines of action were established with actors in charge, with activities, with impact. So this map immediately explains why so many accidents and so many deaths. Because from what people say this is needed for road safety, we only had implemented 9. So this is the key, the basic tool for PI processes. What are the properties of the action map? Describes the whole complexity of the problem, makes the problem understandable by structuring it into its dimensions. Dimensions emerge from the problem itself, not from disciplines of institutions. Terms and concepts of all relevant disciplines and bodies of knowledge. A rich narrative description is prepared in full in a one-day workshop under direct participants' control. Mobilize and integrates the tacit knowledge of the participants, transdisciplinary conceptualization, a diagnostic assessment of the project's current governance, upper cases, and so on, and it specifies where to innovate, yeah, in dimension by dimension. The process. How do we construct the social transformation? We have the social space. We start by a group of conveners, 4 to 12 key actors. An activation team designed, invited by them, and a social transformation community, which may have 300 to 500 participants. Yeah. In this area, we do the action mapping workshop, which starts the process. Well, the starting part is the forming the group of conveners. Then the action mapping workshop, we get the action map. And from this, I won't get into details. In this space, we apply the other tools of the praxis, including the participatory workspace, yeah, to make this, to build up this community. And from this process, we get some initial tangible outputs, consensus, vision of the action map, innovation portfolios, multi-actor innovations. We get some tangible outputs like those in traffic case, viable innovations with impact, a management entity. And we get intangible cultural outputs. And this is central, of course. Trust, awareness of the potential, motivation, new leaderships, alliances, networks, culture of innovation, a beginning of that at least. Quickly, I show 2 ongoing PI processes. One of them is called Ecosystemic Governance of River Basins, SGRIB, the acronym, in Latin America. A hard fact, Earth is losing to erosion 12 million farmland hectares per year. This is a lot more than the total agricultural area we have in Chile every year. Our interpretation, the origin is cultural, in dominant patterns that are neither ecological nor systemic. Our central proposal, intervening at the river basin scale. The national scale is too distant, the farm scale is insufficient. Not all actors are there. The project, we won a Chile-UK call with 120 teams participating and developed in 1820 this through a consortium formed by the University of Plymouth, which supplied natural and social science, Universidad Austral de Chile, natural science, our Foundation for Participatory Innovation in Chile, the PI Praxis, and 3 associated universities in Argentina, Brazil, and Mexico, natural and social science. The central idea is reversing soil erosion. Of course, soil erosion can be reversed as a physical process, second law of thermodynamics. But as a social process, it can, if culture is changed. The pilot work was made in the Rapel River in Chile, river basin. And the central pilot output was a consensus strategy with 61 innovations created by some 100 participants. We call it the SGRIP model, which involved three methods: a method of intervention, participatory innovation praxis, evaluation of environmental impacts, fingerprinting with nuclear techniques, the network of our associated people in natural science, and evaluation of sociocultural impacts, social resilience study. A researcher, she's at the University of Plymouth, and is building on the basis of the participatory processes, building instruments for measurement of this. And well, we did a Latin American discussion of the model through a 2-month course workshop in 2020, 30 participants from 7 countries, and we got a very positive evaluation there. The second case, this is the action map of the system for reversing soil erosion. You understand now, you see it's much more dense action map, yeah? And it includes integrated management of Rapel River Basin, incentives and promotion of sustainable soil management, cultural transformation towards understanding soil as an ecosystem, not as a simple mechanical base for plants, dissemination of agronomic and forestry practices to activate soil's life, mechanisms for technological innovation, development, demonstration, legal instruments, new legal instruments are needed, and effective enforcement. Let's see now the second ongoing process, Mapos transformation for a new social compact in Chile. Context: Chile's unexpected social outbreak in October, 2018. Mistake, of course. Yeah, we had a very strong outbreak. Maybe you saw it in the news. Yeah. And our partner, an articulation of 9 civil society networks called New Social Compact, NPS, was created 4 days after the outbreak. The process, the team, another mistake, selected 20 participants who embody social transformation, 20 women and 20 men, and a 1-day workshop prepared the map of transformations. The output, a map of transformation including 117 concrete transformations structured in 19 dimensions. Transformations in big change in society, as we need in Chile, in our view, is made of or needs this very large number of transformations. Yeah? And this is what these people produced in this map. The short-term projection, we expect to make this map available to the convention that will design a new constitution for Chile that will be elected in a couple of weeks here. And the long-term projection, well, of course, we would like to that the PI praxis be used to implementing many of these transformations. There you have the map. Yeah, of course you cannot read it. Yeah, and it also is available in other. And the dimensions here are cosmovision and culture, democratizing democracy, original people, state and public policies, environment, the economy, and so on. Yeah, defense, infancy, gender, health, education, well, and so on. So this is, and for each of them are innovations, not just lines of action. Yeah. Okay, this is basically what I wanted to say about a general presentation of the participatory innovation praxis. And now I want to go to the specific, the second tool I want to show you. The first was the action map. The Participatory Workspace tool. Origin and development stages. In the 1980s, 500 people met at the first scientific conference on the Chilean environment in 1983. This was a liberating experience within Pinochet's dictatorship. To keep us contacted, I created the Gazette of the Environment Researchers, a monthly participatory newsletter to be distributed by regular mail. Surprisingly, it spread all over Chile and in several Latin American countries. We got news from many, many places, and we put them together and published and distributed by mail. Yeah. And of course, it got over at some point when we had no more financing. In the 2000s, the internet appeared, and I decided to test the Gazette idea online, building Participatory Workspace 1.0. Pilot testing it and selling, I was able to sell it to some 15 clients. However, there was a very slow development of an internet culture. Yeah. And this was very, very hard really to let people understand that things could be done online. Yeah. And so this led me to link the PWS to the PI praxis processes as the tool for the social transformation communities, that big yellow part. And in the next decade, I had a success story with NIX, a mining and blasting service company, and PWS 2.0, which ended when my partner and friend at NIX retired. Yeah, and by the way, the company lost talent to Chile and other countries. Simply, only this high manager, understood and moved it. But when he retired, things stopped. And finally, now, yeah, we have developed the PWS 3.0 with up-to-date technology and usability design. And we successfully tested it at the Latin American course workshop, which I just mentioned. So now let's visit two of these workspaces. First, let me make sure this is sorry, but I have to, yeah. First, I'll show you the workspace. This is NIX, the company I mentioned, NIX Services. Yeah. And
Sorry, Alfredo, we are not seeing your screen. Can you?
I'm very sorry. I forgot to share it. Let me get back. Okay. Okay. Do you see it now?
This is okay now. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now this is the front page. Yeah. NIX, this blasting company for mining. Yeah. And we get into the working page. Don't forget this was made more than 20 years ago, but than 10 years ago. Yeah, that's why it looks like this. But quickly, the communities are the groups of people working together in some, for instance, projects, for instance, innovation, several projects and so on, yeah, or commercial. The Gazette here, the name is, of course, because of historic in our case, yeah, is a window to the latest publications made. Yeah. M are messages published, and D are documents published. Yeah. And what is this about? Is essentially a the participatory workspace is a space where there are participants. Yeah. In this case, there are about 160 participants who publish documents or messages, and you simply get access to the messages and documents easily by looking them here. For instance, I will show this message. Yeah. This is the author. He says something, yeah, he gets a link, say a link, and this is classified, and I'll show you how. This is Carlos' personal page in the web space. Yeah, he's my friend, the person with whom we did this work at that company. And we can go from here to any of the other publications he has made here, for instance, this one. Now, and this is the final point I will, aspect I will mention, how do we publish something? And I'll show you now the key to this. Yeah, we put the number, the title. We select what kind of. Sorry, that's not that important. I don't want to waste time on that. We select a community. Yeah, for instance, that. And this is the main point. We choose something from the theme map. The theme map, this is the verbal tool inside here. You see it there. All the topics, the themes about which people at this company talk are mapped here. Yeah. For instance, suppose you want to publish I'm sure you can understand the Spanish words are similar to English. Yeah. You can talk about blasting software and products, this PATN, and in this plants, and has to do with the factory, yeah. And you are dealing with research, some project ideas, and you are dealing with quality, and it has to do with a specific client called AMSA Los Penales, whatever. Yeah. Every message or document you publish has to be tagged. But these are not general descriptors. These are specific to this company and to this communication space. And something else which is important, this theme map is built, or was built at least in face-to-face, in half a day. And that's all. Well, I'll leave, we go back and we can look through this, get into any. Well, this is to show you in this process, we had the total messages were about 70 messages published and some 360 documents published. And so a library was built, yeah, automatically by the while they were communicating. Now I will leave this one and I will move to our current one. This is the new version 3. And this is the PWS we used for this ecosystemic governance of river basins for the international course workshop. Yeah, this is the front page. Now we get in. We see the same elements but of course the looks are different. Yeah, and I'll simply show you, this is what was published by the participants over these 2 months of work. Yeah, something was published later. Yeah, and for instance, this is an invitation from a Brazilian participant. Yeah, to who is this an invitation to a workshop that took place last month, in which these are our partners in Brazil. Yeah. And simply I show you the page of the participants. Yeah. So you see each participant has here his or her own page. Yeah, these are the photographs of those who participated. And we have really very interesting, and we built a library, of course, and a library of documents and a library of messages. Okay, I'll stop, and just a few, 2 or 3 more slides, I'm finished. Go back to the, sorry, minimize this and get back to the presentation. Okay, quickly, what is the PWS? It's a management tool that facilitates and strengthens participation in organizations and networks, yeah, through a web platform. For communications, replaces meetings, telephone, and so on. Documentation, library. Knowledge management, making tacit knowledge explicit through messages. Updates knowledge. Measurement and evaluation, you can check contributions from participants. 2 integrated components, a methodology and a platform. Yeah? The methodology, of course, comes from the praxis. And finally, a unique and distinctive trait, it automatically generates and updates a base of tacit and explicit knowledge with wide thematic wealth from the daily communications of the organization of network or network members. The general concept is very simple. Participants, some special tools, I showed most of them, yeah, through which we publish, yeah, and build a knowledge base of messages and documents, yeah, and a management system, steering committee, and so on, and many other things we could talk about later. How to organize a PWS? There are the following steps: conceptual design, yeah, with workshop; technological implementation. The platform is software as a service. Establishing the management system, launching an operation, methodological and technological support, and evaluation and design adjustments every year. So to synthesize, I show again our table of contents. Yeah, we have talked about the praxis, yeah, the grounds, the challenge, the complexity, an illustrative case in Chile, road safety, the principle, the 3 principles of participatory innovation, the process, and the 2 ongoing processes we have now. And I showed you this tool, and now I think maybe more clear. Why do I show this tool? Because it is a standalone tool also, and much quicker. Yeah, you can, if you are interested in this, you can apply it immediately, yeah, and can get results very, very fast. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much, and I'm ready for our conversation.
Thank you, Alfredo. Thank you very much. All right, so I think that we will open the discussion. You I will ask the whoever wants to participate just to raise their hands so that we can give you the.
Yes. If possible, sorry, Angela, if possible, I would like if people could put their cameras on for this conversation. Whoever can. I would appreciate that very much, because then we see who we are.
Come in, Jonathan.
So, Alfredo, very interesting. I have some similar solutions to participatory design and a software solution which is very close to yours. I have two questions though. How does your process deal with hierarchies? So I noticed it was based in Akoff's work, and Akoff had a way of participatory recursive processes for dealing with a hierarchy. And how, secondly, does it deal with coercive factors when people have a fundamental disagreement based in their belief systems?
Let me complete right. Yeah, thanks. Interesting questions. One of the interesting things that happen in the process is that we go for a while away from hierarchy. Yeah, we put people in the same level. Yeah, and in practice, what I ask in the workshops is for the CEO not to be there. Yeah, and for the CEO to come at the end of the workshop and let the workshop present to him the outcome. Yeah, so because the presence of whoever is on the top, yeah, inhibits everybody else to say whatever they think and to interact freely. So this is the practical way I have found. I've had ministers and CEOs and many people there. And whenever the top guy is there, yeah, really creativity doesn't flow. Yes, it's quite clear. Yes. It's quite clear. So the main point, the idea, the final is that let's present him the results at the end, yeah, and it works. It works. As I say, it's a clear of the essence of this is moving away from the regular structure and letting a flow of interaction of ideas, of knowledge, yeah, that the regular structure inhibits. And the second, I think the point on coercion, I try to be practical. Yeah, I don't work with people who are coercive and in a coercive environment. You simply cannot do participation, especially strong participation. Yeah, and so this is what the difference I make between the domineering leadership versus the enabling leadership. Yeah, so unless you can have an enabling social environment, I prefer not to work there. It's a waste of time.
Oh, well, I would beg to differ because that's the area I work in. So how you get people who have different moral frameworks to work together to find a solution.
Sure.
And part of that is exploring their beliefs at the beginning so that you don't go down a path where somewhere down the path you come across this clash of beliefs. So you must establish a belief system at the beginning. Yeah. But otherwise, yes, it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. In practice, what comes out at the end of the process is a different type of shared beliefs.
Yes.
Yeah. What an action map, for instance, which I showed, is exactly that. Yeah. An action map is a new proposal, yeah, for an understanding, no cierto, but shared, that built together by different people.
So if you worked with Akoff, did you work with one of his students, Garanjadani?
I met him, but I have not worked with them. I did my studies there. I was able to stay only 1 year, there because of financial and other things, and I finished my work in Chile back. So I have not worked with any of this. I met Jamshid when he was at the end, later on, after the time I was. Yeah, and Jamshid kept working with Akov when Akov left Wharton. Yeah, but I have not worked with Jamshid. Yeah.
Jamshid's paper covers a lot of what I've been talking about.
Yes.
It's Jamshid's work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think this my approach is not based on Jamshid, but on Ras and the other people I mentioned at the beginning.
Thank you.
Thanks to you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan. Anyone else would like to ask a question? Raul? James? Raul, were you raising your hand or was my imagination? No? Okay. So James.
Right, I'm now muted.
All right, okay.
Alfredo, two things more of a conceptual kind. You started saying that Moran's complexity approach was different to the systems approach. Now, can you explain a little bit what is the difference between the two? And the second point I wanted to ask you is, have you used the viable system model at all in this work? Have you had the opportunity to organize the structures of the participatory meetings following some of the ideas of viability? And in particular there, have you managed to use the ideas of requisite variety in practical terms so that you can perhaps you can give us an illustration of requisite variety in the way you proceed with your operational work?
Thank you, Raul. Well, first on system thinking and complex thinking. Of course, I was trained in system thinking. I learned from Akov, and also a lot from Stafford. Yeah. And so that was a very significant basis for me. What I learned from Edgar Morin, who, by the way, lived in the United States. He's a French philosopher, yeah, who lived in the United States in California for more than 1 year, who met the systems movement thinking in many areas. Yeah, and what he has done is a sort of broader philosophical proposal, yeah, which he calls complex thinking. Basically, his point is this: Cartesian thinking, in which all of us have been formed, is simplifying thinking. Yeah? We turn to simplify, and we were trained at university in different careers, basically to simplify and not to deal with the whole complexity. Yeah? This is his basic idea, and in that sense, I consider that system thinking is in a way a part of the broader conception of complex thinking. Yeah? This is what is the difference? I think it's more philosophical, yeah, because Morin is not an Anglo-Saxon; he's a French, yeah, and so is not a practical person, yeah, with asking pardon from other people, but he's extremely interesting philosophical statements, yeah, which I suggest you get to know. Yeah. In practice, what did that teach to me? Yeah, it taught me that in order to to deal with this real life complexity, yeah, we could not look at the world from the outside, but we should look at it from the inside. Yeah? And this is, I think, the main point here. No analyst or facilitator or whatever, yeah, can in depth arrive at a full understanding of what goes on in any particular system. Yeah.
Is that similar?
But
Just let me interrupt you. Is that similar to second order cybernetics?
maybe I'm not an expert. I have not, and I go to your second question now, Raul, which is about the use of the driver system model. Yeah.
Just let me mention, second order cybernetics is when the observer is within the situation itself, rather than having an observer from the outside.
Yeah. Okay. This is the point is this is here. There is no observer. Maybe I am saying something very strange, yeah. But in this case, yeah, there's a multiple observer, yeah. It's the participants themselves who build the interpretation.
In cybernetics, we don't talk about, you may have one observer, but in general, we have multiple observers.
Perfect. Then maybe we are on the same wavelength. Maybe I have to check. What I have done, yeah, is building practical tools to do this. Yeah, I am not a how to say a scholar. Yeah, I am a practitioner. So this is my standpoint. My standpoint is not as a scholar, and from these points, I got to this way of understanding participation, which in practice and of practicing participation through these language-based tools I have shown. That's the central point here. Maybe we have similar theoretical viewpoints with second-order cybernetics. I have to check. I haven't had time to do that. Yeah, as I say, I'm not a scholar. I'll go to your second question, Raul. Use of no, I have not used the tools and techniques and so on of the. I know it. I learned a lot from Stafford when he was here in Chile, and we were together at that time, and I learned a lot. And I think one of the points I have made in an action map, for instance, the dimensions of the action map correspond to systems 1. If you consider this as a basis for applying in for instance, in a process as like the one in the Rappel basin, yeah, would be the equivalent. My concept of line of action and of action map of line of action came basically from reflecting upon Beer's horizontal variety matches. Yeah, but I added culture to that, which is not there. Yeah, and so this is one of the modifications I made. And requisite variety, yes, it is all over. Yeah, the complexity participation principle is a principle about requisite variety for high complexity. Yeah, basically high complexity processes are, and the distinction I made with the current approaches and the PI approach is precisely that. The current approaches don't have the requisite variety to face high complexity problems, while participatory innovation, yes, it can, and we have done it. Yeah. Why? Because of these high variety tools.
How do you know whether in this participatory approach there is requisite variety or not?
Sorry, Raul, can you speak louder? I don't listen to you well.
How do you know whether in this participatory approach you have you're achieving variety performance? How do you know that your activities are being successful, and how can you change your balances of variety so that you increase your performance?
Because it works. I showed you examples. I have many other. It works. Not because I say it works, not because any analyst may say it works, but because the people who participate say it and keep. I have met people who participate in workshops I have carried in 20, 25 years ago and remember perfectly well what happened there. Yeah. So it has a practical impact upon people. Yeah. And I showed you a case of cultural change we achieved through this. So this is the how I would say. Yeah. It's not. Of course, we could add measures, and there's no difficulty. But the action map itself, for instance, I have a case with a company in which an action map first was done, and a few upper cases were, and 5 years later, where almost 80% of the action of the lines of action were in upper cases. So this is clearly an measurement of impact.
Thank you, Alfredo.
Thank you, Raul.
Okay, we have James waiting and then Marcus.
Yes.
Thanks. Hi, Alfredo. I
Hi,
loved
James.
your talk. It really, really speaks to me, and your work is quite similar to one of the projects I'm working on and very relevant to my research as well. So thank you. I'm looking forward to sharing this when it goes up on YouTube. I look forward to sharing this with people I'm working with on that. And I have several questions I could ask you, but I won't. Well, the first is very, very simple. What's the name of your book and where can I get it? Have you written
sorry, what's the name of?
Your book that you've written about this?
No, I have not written. Unfortunately, I have
okay.
not been able to write any book as so far. Yeah.
Okay.
And don't forget, I live in Chile and not in Europe or North America. And don't forget that money here is very, very scarce. I'm trying to write a book now.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you mentioned one at the beginning, but
no.
I would be interested
sorry,
in
I have two, but they are in Spanish. I have two books coming from projects, yeah, published by university publishing houses, but
okay.
not.
Okay.
In case you read Spanish, I can share them.
No, sadly not. My thanks anyway. My other question was about the relationship between face-to-face meetings and digital online interaction and the roles that they play in your model. So in my experience, like digital technologies can be quite a variety limiting thing, you know, it cuts out a lot of elements of communication. So I'd be interested in your thoughts about that. Thank you.
Definitely, very, very important point yours, James, about this one. Yeah. In my experience, I have been able to build a full action map, yeah, with the whole complexity of any high complexity system in just one day. Yeah, not from the beginning. It was a learning process in which we finally got to do them in this in one day, reducing the number of people to 25 people at maximum, and especially having a very, very well streamlined process to do the action map. Yeah. And well, very recently, we did an action map online with people here in my city, in Valparaiso. Yeah. And it took us maybe 3 meetings online to do that. Yeah, because of course of the pandemic. So it is very limiting. Yeah, the fact, and you know, there's been gestures and you can feel or not if people are comfortable or not at the meeting, and the lively interaction is absolutely different. In the same has happened with team maps for participatory workspaces. Yeah, the same. It was very, very slow. Yeah, a theme map for as big as the one I showed you can be built in half a day, a bit more. with some 15 people from this who represent, who know, who live the concepts and values and so on of the organization. Yeah. And certainly that cannot be done online, unfortunately.
Thank you, James and Alfredo. Marcus?
Thank you. Alfredo, I really enjoyed your presentation, a stimulating presentation, and I like your coherent concept. Now, I had the same question as James, actually, but I go a little bit more into detail, referring to your second issue, the software, the tools.
Mm-hmm.
And I see you are building a information system which looks to me quite comprehensive. And I even see that you have tacit knowledge in there. And I mean, tacit knowledge, by definition, is not written. So do you transform the tacit knowledge, or how does that work?
Thank you for your question. Very, very, very significant. In fact, yeah, what we do is we work fully with tacit knowledge. Yeah, we don't. Yeah, what we bring the people together to exchange tacit knowledge. Yeah, as you know, we work with tacit knowledge. Yeah, the tacit knowledge is what we would learn. Lets me speak now. I'm speaking out of my tacit knowledge. Yeah, and everything is essentially tacit knowledge, not explicit knowledge. What we do through our tools is precisely we bring together people who use and get hold of their tacit knowledge by intuition. Yeah, because intuition, you go into the well of your tacit knowledge inside you, in your body, yeah, and put it out together with the tacit knowledge of other participants, yeah, and build these tools, yeah, and one very important thing is we don't, in any of these workshops, we start with a full blank sheet or full blank screen on which we work. Nothing. There's no previous preparation or previous document for people to read or to comment upon, and nothing like that. Just a blank screen on which we project and on which we work. And people start talking from their experience. Yeah. We just open the workshop with a question. There is a question prompting the discussion.
Could you give an example?
Yes, of course. In the case of the Rappel River Basin, I showed you, and I showed you the action map. Yeah, we started with one simple. We had the action mapping workshop was a 20 participant workshop. These participants had been selected previously and carefully by the group of conveners, and the group of conveners is a group, in that case, of 14 organizations, including Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Agriculture, agricultural and business associations, and researchers, the university, FAO, United Nations Organization, yeah, the Latin American Network of Agroecology, and so on. We had small farmers. We had all those people, yeah, were the group of conveners. They selected in their own meeting, which I ran also, yeah, they carefully selected, methodically selected 25 people, yeah, and as representative of the whole complexity of the basin. Then those people met at a workshop, a full one-day workshop. And in that workshop, they put together, and what was the question? What should we be doing on a permanent basis in order to stop or to reverse soil erosion in the Rappel Basin? That was a question.
Good.
Absolutely open. Yeah. and then started to propose and propose and propose. People simply, only that question was written at the top of the screen, and that was all. And along the way, so whatever one participant said raised ideas, intuitions into another. So it was a full flow of intuitions, yeah, which is tacit knowledge, but was made explicit. So we made explicit the tacit knowledge, interactive tacit knowledge. That is the basic outputs, the basic thing that comes out of these participatory innovation workshops. Yeah, all of them, all 4 tools, are exactly like this. Thank you for your question, Marcos.
Well, I look forward to your book.
Okay, let's have it as soon as I can. But anyway, let me tell you something, yeah, which I have clear now with the people that have been working here. It's practically impossible to learn this from writing. Yeah, it has to be learned in practice. Yeah, and our main task now, and that's why we have a foundation. Some former students and collaborators of mine have helped us put together a foundation. Yeah, of course, it's not a foundation with money, but a foundation to explain, to say that we are not. Our interest is not making money with this, but our interest is really sharing this knowledge. Yeah? But unfortunately, this knowledge is complex. Yeah, it's mostly still in my head. Yeah, and I need to to transfer it. Yeah, our idea is to train animators, as I showed there. Yeah, our basic purpose is training animators and transferring them these techniques and tools and all that. They work. Yeah, and maybe we have to invent pedagogical ways and so on. Yeah, we have we're trying, we're doing our best to do this. Yeah? But
Thank
the
you.
book, as soon as I have, if you help me get it translated into English,
It's good because it keeps Rasi's thinking alive. Yeah,
Yes.
Yamshi does that, but I think you do it your way, and I think it's very promising.
Thank you, Marcos.
Last question from Jose.
Alfredo, muchas gracias por la presentación, muy interesante y sobre todo muy interesante los resultados, sobre todo en el caso
Can
de
you
las...
speak in English, Jose, for the others?
Excuse me, I apologize for the audience, sorry, because we were talking Spanish at the beginning, so I apologize. I moved to English, sorry. No, I was telling Alfredo, I like your presentation, in particular the results of the reduction on deaths due to traffic, etc., etc. But I have one question in relation to your procedure, in particular for this day. You say that the main core of the whole thing is that in one day you do something and you get some outcome of one day, and then you have activity that continues for, I don't know, days, weeks, months after that day, I assume. So this first day that you say that you organize a meeting with a blank sheet and then the people come in, I understand that is physically, or at least it was physically. Now you mentioned that you made a version that is done online in 3 weekends as an alternative to the physical one, etc. But going to the physical one, you have 20, 25 people, and you present the big question, and then they start to throw ideas. The question is, how do you go from the variety explosion that each participant start to throw ideas of different issues, maybe economic, maybe health, maybe safety, etc., etc., and you start to have ideas scattered all around the screen or the walls or whatever you use. The question is, how do you move from this explosion of variety to the reduction of variety and concentration by aggregation of ideas into the main issues that you presented in these huge maps, where you have 6, 7, or 10 components, and within each of these, let's say, 10 titles, you have inside a dozen of another.
I got.
So
I think very good and practical question, Jose.
this convergence, how
Yes.
it's agreed with the title at the end of the day of what are the 12 main issues and the content that is within each of the 12. As an example, I mentioned 12.
I'll explain. This workshop, this one-day workshop, has a very detailed design. Yeah. In sections from the 8 a.m. Yeah, the mid-morning coffee, and then the lunch, and then the mid-afternoon coffee, and so on. 4 sections. Yeah. In the first 2, we basically ask for proposals, but I check as animator with them that they are really lines of action, and not just objectives. Yeah, or not just vague ideas. And this check is a quick talk. Yeah, and then we stop when somebody wants a long speech for justifying something, and then I say, oh, wait, we all understand this. Please don't justify, just propose. Okay, so that makes the workshop flow, yeah, easily, quickly. Yeah, and something else, whenever people say, oh no, this was already proposed. No, your intuition is different, and so please, let's put yours. Yeah, because it comes from a different body, from a different story, maybe some similar words. And something else is, I say, look, this is more general or more specific. Let's put them all. Let's put them all, general and specific. So at the end of the morning, yeah, we have maybe some 80 proposed lines of action. Yeah, in a 2-column page projected. Yeah, people go to lunch, we print them, give them for them to, and they are numbered also. Yeah, 1 to 80 or 82 or whatever. After lunch, we start building the map. Yeah, first were just lines of action proposed. Now, the question is this: which of these lines of action would be more general than others? Yeah, and so people start 82, no, 3, no, and so on. You get the point. Yeah, what happens? Yeah, there is a discussion. There are rules. For instance, somebody has to agree. Yeah, with that number 3 or otherwise. But those rules let the workshop finally converge, let's say, to 12 possible dimensions. Yeah, and then we start moving. Yeah, in a different screen. Yeah, we start moving the lines of action below the corresponding, and then so what is to synthesize? Yeah, this is a process in which 25 brains, yeah, composed of some 80 billion or don't know how many neurons are in there, yeah, are interacting. I can't imagine any more extraordinary variety processing system. Yeah, much better, I think, than any computer. Yeah, because these are 25 people interacting with their memory, with their language. Yeah, and building together this. So this is the essential the variety matching process we have. Yeah, and then it comes up. I have animated maybe some 40 to 50 action mapping processes, and they have all worked, all have converged.
Yeah,
Thank
well,
you for your question, Jose. Very, very important to make this understandable.
thanks very much.
Alfredo, one
Does it
quick
reminds
question.
me?
Sorry, Angela. You say that the conveners are the ones who select the people who are going to participate in the workshop. Is that correct?
Yes.
What about if there are other people who are totally different to the conveners and that they want to participate in the workshop? Can they do that?
The first process, good question, Raul. The first part of this is precisely putting together an appropriate group of conveners. Yeah. And this is where this starts. Then it comes from what is a group of conveners? It is a group of there's no in any social space, there's no owner of the social space. Yeah. They are in something like the rappel, you can imagine, and I mentioned the types of. So instead of some owner, we put together this figure of the group of conveners with key actors. What is their role? Yeah, they're called conveners. That means they have to be able to convene, which means if they invite, everybody would come. Yeah, that's essentially the idea of convening. Let me say that putting together a group of conveners is an art. Yeah, it's a process like other elements here. It's a process that takes long experience to do. I'm working now with people. I have tomorrow to make a presentation of this case script at the Argentina in San Luis province, yeah, which they are become very interested in applying it. Yeah. And precisely one of the discussions we have been having and we had at the course workshop was precisely who should be a part of their group of conveners. Their idea was too narrow at the beginning. And through our conversation, they understood that the group of conveners should involve finally the provincial governor. Yeah, that's the actual level at which this should be. Yeah, and we are talking, and tomorrow in the workshop, the rector of the university will be there, and they are understanding this kind that they're getting to. We're together doing this. Yeah, but this has been a long process. Yeah, of conversation. In our case, in the rappel, and that's so interesting your question, Raul. We had no contact. Yeah, the other members of the team lived in Santiago. I live here in Viña, and Rancagua is the capital city, and that's 100 kilometers south of Santiago. And they have no contact whatsoever with at the region. Yeah, and it took us 4 months since the beginning. Yeah, since the project started to make the contacts, the questions, and so on. Yeah, in order to find finally who would be the appropriate members of the group of conveners. Yeah, each one has to feel that he or she is a pair, yeah, a peer. This it has to be seen as a group of peers, the group of conveners. So only then they can play this role of selecting appropriately, not only the participants at the beginning, at the action map, but the participants and the rest of the process. Yeah. In fact, the group of conveners has 2 roles. One role is providing legitimacy to the process, which is essential. Yeah. The process has to be legitimate. And second, providing strategic guidance to the process. So these are the two roles played by the conveners, and that's why the group has to be leveled. Yeah, they cannot be someone who's extremely, and that's the same problem that happens in a company, for instance. Yeah, about the question that was placed before, what do we do with the Jonathan's question at the beginning? Thank you for the questions. No te, Ángela, you're mute, Ángela.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. Alfredo and Raúl and Jose for the questions. So no, very interesting webinar. I'm sure that we could stay here for longer, but we're already running out of
course.
So I will say thank you to all of you, and as usual, we will upload the webinar in the website. Okay. So thank you very much. I hope to see you next in 2 weeks. Elena is going to be presenting the webinar in 2 weeks.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you for the questions, for the interest, and then I'm, of course, available for
I
keeping
checked the record to know. Sorry, I was late, but I checked the record to the. Okay, goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Alfredo, and Angela and John. See you.